Welcome to Imperfect Momming. Our children are constantly looking to us for examples. The term role model doesn't quite cut it here. We are shaping their worldview with every move we make. You see, it's not in the lectures we give or moments where we are actively attempting to teach them. It's in the micro movements we make, the unconscious ways in which we navigate life. We are constantly teaching our children how to show up for themselves, their friends, their future partners, and even their future children. So what can we do to ensure we are raising thoughtful, compassionate, self-aware human beings? We have to become them ourselves. No one is perfect, but we can still all be better, and it starts with self-healing. Let's get to it. Welcome back to Imperfect Momming, and we have a very special guest today, Beth. I don't know how to say your last name.
Iaciofano.
Iaciofano.
You
That's
got it.
actually
Yep.
a very fun name to say. Welcome to Imperfect Momming.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So tell me a little bit about who you are and what you do.
I am the mom of a 23-year-old child with special needs, and I have two stepdaughters, and I have two grandchildren. I'm so excited to have in my life. And I actually just had my last day of teaching. I've been teaching for 17 years, and I decided to step away and do educational consulting and the transformational coaching. So I'm very excited for this next chapter of my life.
I love that. And so tell me how your last day after 17 years felt.
It felt really good.
Yeah.
I resigned in January, so I had time to adjust to the idea, and everything's been unfolding beautifully as far as my next chapter.
Yeah.
So I'll definitely miss the people that I work with, and I'll miss working with the kids, but it's just time to start working with adults. So I'm looking forward to that. And working with parents that have special needs kids, that's kind of who my seeker is. So I'm looking forward to helping other moms like myself navigate the world with a special needs child.
Yeah, I was like, well, which way do we want to go with the conversation? And let's go the parenting, being a parent of special needs, because I know several communities that would be helpful for. And like, tell us a little bit about whatever you want us to know.
It's a challenge. My daughter is nonverbal. She has autism, and she's had special needs since birth. So it's not like she was a typically developing child and then all of a sudden stopped. It's been difficult since birth. She actually didn't even know how to suck, which is an instinct for babies. She had to learn how to do that. So it's been challenging. It's been wonderful in a lot of ways, but it's been and continues to be very challenging. And I think all parenting is challenging, just in different ways.
Yeah.
So yes, I have a 23-year-old, and I'm dealing. It's basically like having a 3-year-old in a lot of ways. She's got the attitude of a teenager, but she can't do a lot of things for herself. She can't shower herself and make her own food. So in that way, it's like having a toddler, still for 23 years. But on the other hand, I don't have to worry about her going out and, getting into a car accident as she's driving, or getting drunk, or doing drugs, or, all that. So parenting is tough, period. I just have different challenges than parents of neurotypical children.
Yeah. That's a really good point, that it's all hard in some way, shape, or form. It's just varying different levels of hard, and I would imagine that when you became a mom, you didn't anticipate having a toddler for the rest of your life, and there had to be some mental adjustments and shifts that you made to come to terms with that.
Oh, it was a grieving process. It really was. Because yeah, when you're pregnant, you have all these dreams and desires for what your child's going to be like, and then all that goes out the window, and you have to just take it day by day, minute by minute sometimes. Um, and yeah, I grieved for the child that I thought I was going to have, and then had to learn to, all right, this is who I have, and just appreciate. I think how I'm different than a lot of parents of my peers that have neurotypical children is I appreciated every single thing that she did because everything was a struggle for her. So when she started walking, it was like hooray, when she didn't cry when we went to the store for the first time because she used to scream. A sensory overload was real for her. So anytime we went anywhere, she would scream. So the first time she didn't do that, it was a celebration. And just watching her perspective on the world, it's very different. So I've learned a lot from her. But yeah, it was a grieving process. And I remember I was working as a special ed tutor. And Hannah was in she was in what would be considered, well, it was actually, there's a third year of preschool because she was in the special ed program. And the kids that were her age were in kindergarten. And I remember like it came out of nowhere, but I broke down crying when the parents came in when it was kindergarten moving up because Hannah should have been with them. So those little milestones, and like even now seeing, parents celebrating their kids graduating from college and all that it's a little bit of a grieving process. But it is what it is, and I know she's meant to be with me. We're meant to learn from each other, and we certainly are learning from each other.
Yeah, that was
So
my thought. I didn't think about college exactly, but a friend of mine, her daughter's 18 and just graduated high school, and they had the high school graduation party, and so that was in the front of my mind, and it's like, but yeah, she'd be at college age, and and I would imagine that you'll continue to have grieving moments
oh,
as
absolutely,
throughout your
yeah.
life, throughout her
And
life.
I allow myself to have that. It's important that all parents allow themselves to feel what they're feeling and move through it, and literally move through it. Don't get stuck in it. Feel it, acknowledge it, and move through it. So it's
Yeah,
important. I learned to do that because you can't say, oh, well, this person has it so much worse. Maybe true, but doesn't mean that it's not hard for you in that moment. So yeah, someone else might have it more difficult, but they can probably say the same thing about somebody else. Oh, I shouldn't feel this way because this person has it worse than I do. So I think as moms, it's important to validate our feelings and acknowledge them and allow them to come through so that we can move through them and get on with things because we can't stay stuck. We have to raise our kids and function and be happy,
yeah.
and that's important. So
I totally agree. And I'm curious, like, where did your mindset shift come from? Did you have support, or was it just this is who you are and this is kind of how you roll? Or
um it's kind of how I roll. I am very spiritual. I am very intuitive, and have been from really my well, since I had Hannah's a gift in that way because I really opened up to all this because of her. I had to find some outlet. I had to find some reason why. And I started really on the spirituality path when she was born. And it's opened me, and I was 30 when she was born. So I was older, and I remember think so for all the moms out there who are young and have kids and they're walking the floor like, what the hell did I do when the baby's screaming in the middle of the night? We've all been there. Don't feel bad because you're like, why did I do this? It doesn't mean you don't love your child. It just means you're tired and you've had it. But I really needed to find, it was really hard. And I was in a marriage that was not supportive at the time. And so I didn't have support from my now ex-husband. I did have family around me, but my sisters knew something was wrong with Hannah early on, and I just ignored it and said, oh no, she's fine, she's fine, she's fine. The doctor says she's fine. And then, yeah, at 1, I knew something was up. So I knew before that, I was just ignoring it. But I think I just started really soaking up the spirituality and knowing that there's a purpose for everything and noticing signs from spirit. And it just gave me a sense of peace knowing that I wasn't alone. Even when there wasn't someone physically with me, I had this spirit support group around me.
Mhm.
And it's been really important for me, because I think that's part of the problem, is when we feel like we're alone and we don't have support, and we just have to ask for it. You can show me a sign that I'm heading down the right road, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Send me a sign that you're there, and you'll see the sign, it'll be there. Little whispers will be there. And so it's been really important for me, and my sisters have been on the same path as I am. So having a family, having a tribe is really important. A supportive tribe is really, really important when you have children, period. Never mind a special needs child. Just someone to have your back and bounce ideas off of, and other parents with special needs kids were really important, because Hannah was difficult when she was little, and no one really wanted her around because she was screaming. So I'd hang with my friends with special needs kids, and they understood. I didn't feel like, oh, stop crying, that you're gonna bother somebody. They were like, have at it. My kid's screaming over there too. So having a tribe is really important. And for me personally, my spirituality was really important, and knowing that I had support from spirit, my spirit guides and people who have passed before me, my mom. And so that has helped me tremendously.
Yeah.
And now I'm on a whole different path this past year with the mediumship and more spirituality and the coaching. So it's beautiful the way it's unfolded for me.
Yeah.
So
I've gotten to see only the last, month or so, 2 months of your journey. So it's been a pleasure to, actually just today talking to you and listening to, what you've been through. And because I didn't know any of that when we first talked the first time. And and you make a really good point about community. And it's something I've talked about quite a lot on the podcast, that we need the tribe. And, there's a lot of moms with children with special needs that I'm aware of that don't have a tribe, that it's very isolating and alone, where they have their online tribe, they have their online support, but there's something a little different about having physical, people in the physical world physically around you, wrapping their arms around you if that's what you need. That to use Xander's words, that just hits different.
Yeah. And it's important to find the right people to support you and surround you, because there can be some people who have that kind of energy that will bring you down instead of lifting you up. The ones that complain continuously and then don't do anything to change it. And I'm really a big proponent of that. Yeah, we can complain and we can get down, but you know what? You got to find a way to change it. If something is really not good, figure out how you can change it. It could just be one little shift in a mindset that will make all the difference in the world. So I think surrounding yourself with the right people is really important. Not just anybody that has special, a child with special needs, but the right people for you. Because there are a lot of different people that have a lot of different needs, and they carry their own, as a coach, carry your own baggage, and that can negatively affect you and not be helpful. So you want someone that's going to help lift you up, make you laugh, and be around people with neurotypical children as well. And that's good for your child. Hannah loves being with other typical peers, and that's important as well. The right people who will tolerate and accept. So it's important not to just put blinders on and say, oh, I'm only going to hang with my own people who understand what I'm going through, because then you're missing out on the opportunity to teach somebody. This is, learn from each other. Hey, these are the issues I have with a neurotypical child. Well, this is what I have with one who's not neurotypical, and you learn from each other,
Yeah. Yeah, and that takes a level of you know, being able to tolerate differences, essentially. That's not what the word that I'm thinking. I was just having a Facebook conversation about relationships, and she said something along the lines of she's a non-monogamous, and just the way that she worded it, and I was like, that's kind of a mouthful. And she's like, well, I don't fit the typical, you know, monogamous and polymogamous, you know, labels. So I use the long one because that sounds more in alignment with me. And she and I started having a conversation about relationship styles, and I'm, you know, monogamous relationship for 8 years, and for me, I'm happy inside a monogamous relationship. And she's like, I need more. And it's like, that's great. Like, what?
Yeah.
And having that level of, I don't know what the word for that is, having that level of
acceptance and tolerance. Yeah, it's absolutely tolerant, and tolerating different viewpoints. Yeah. Which we don't necessarily do a good job of as adults in this country.
No. And, you know, finding people that accept you and what you're struggling with, but also are not just sitting there and like, let's talk about how awful our children are, or how awful it is that our, you know, children aren't what we thought they were going to be. But, you know, like, people that can help you in the mind shift is
absolutely
essential.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
So is there a piece of advice that you want to share with moms? You can be specific to any specific mom, like neurotypical or non-neurotypical, or you could be more, you know, broad.
I think what helped me the most, and this was just my journey, is understanding that, how to say it, understanding that there are positives to every situation, that you can learn something from every situation, even when it's dire. And it was really hard when Hannah was probably between the ages of 1 and 4, because she started going through all the testing at 1. And MRIs, and it was just really, really, really hard. And I remember I said a prayer to my grandmother to help me this one day, because Hannah had to go in for an MRI. And it was cold outside. And I walked down the steps and I saw a butterfly. You would not see a butterfly at that time in the morning in this season. So that kind of thing is like, okay, thank you. Having something to hold on to that's greater than you, I think, is really important, because it gave me perspective. Like, okay, there's a reason for all this right now. There's a reason I'm going through this, and there's something to learn. Either there's always a lesson to learn. And so that, number one, and number two is the support. You can't do it alone. You can't. I mean, as human beings, we are meant to be in a group. We're like dogs with a pack. You know what I mean? That contact is important. And it doesn't necessarily need to be every day, but just knowing that you have someone that you can reach out to. Could just be one good person that's supportive and lifts you up. I don't have a lot of friends. I have a lot of people that I'm friendly with, but I have my core group that I can rely on. And that's important. And just knowing that you're going to get through it. You're going to get through it. Each day, just take it 1 second at a time. If it's a bad day, all right, I'm just going to get through this 1 minute. We get through that 1 minute. All right, I got through this minute. Let's get through the next one. Sometimes that's what it's like, because, and if your kid's crying, screaming, and you can't take it anymore, put the baby down somewhere safe, and you go to the bathroom and you cry and you take a deep breath and you splash water on your face, and then you go back in. And you know that you're going to be okay. support, I think, is really important. So support in my own belief that there is a greater purpose really, really helped me. And I still hold on to it because Hannah's nonverbal and she can be extremely challenging, extremely challenging. She perseverates. So she'll ask me the same thing 50 times in 3 minutes, over and over and over and over again. And that after a day of working, that can drain on you. So I hang on to all that and okay, there's a purpose for this. There's a purpose for this. What am I learning? Maybe right now I'm learning patience in this 1 second. So that's really, really important. You know, and people will say, oh, you're so patient. And some days I don't feel like it. I feel like I'm the worst mom in the world.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because one of the ladies that I was coaching with on this issue of not feeling like I was patient enough with her and not a good mom, she said, the fact that you're even worried about it means that you're a good mom. So I was like, thank you for that, because sometimes I just feel like I need to have more patience and some days I just don't have it. And then the next day I'm great. So I had to give myself grace. And that's another thing, moms out there, give yourself grace. Give yourself grace because it's hard. It really is. It's wonderful and it's beautiful, but it's hard. It's hard.
Now, I'm curious, I did think of another question I wanted to ask you. Did you ever feel guilty or responsible for your daughters?
Oh, hell yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
How did
I
you
was
work through
like,
that?
all right. I was like, all right, what did I do wrong? Oh yeah. I'm not a smoker, not a drinker. Like, what in the world? What did I do? Yeah, because I was responsible for her for all those months in utero. And it wasn't for very long, though, I have to say that, because I held on to the belief that I got who I was meant to get. She was meant to come into this world the way she is.
Yeah.
So I really didn't hold on to the guilt for very long. And I still don't, because she is who she's meant to be in order to learn the lessons she needs to learn. She chose to come here, I believe, with the challenges that she has. So there was definitely at the beginning, it was hard at the beginning. It really was, when I really realized something was wrong. And when she came out, she had genetic testing done. So I think the doctors knew something was up. But all her chromosomes came back normal. So she was an infant just born and they wanted to do DNA testing. They wanted to check her chromosomes. So they knew something was up, but once I realized something was going on, then I definitely had the guilt. And one of the doctors, I'll never forget it. So moms out there, if you have a doctor that says something really rude, just try your hardest to let it roll off, because Hannah was seeing a neurologist. And this was still the very beginning. She's like 1 year old. And so I asked the doctor, is she going to be okay? And the doctor said, if you're asking me if she's ever going to be normal, the answer is no. And I remember being like, felt like I was hit in the gut. And I looked at her and I was like, I was speechless. I was speechless, because to actually come out and say that was astounding to me. Because how does this doctor know what's going to happen with my daughter? She doesn't know. She's not a mind reader. She can't see into the future.
And with zero sugarcoating either, like
that was it. The bluntness. And this is a pediatric neurologist. And I'm thinking, okay, you need to know how to handle parents. And it's interesting that in the experiences that I've had with the specialists haven't always been great. These people are brilliant, but they have zero bedside manner. And when you have a little one that you're going through this with, and you already feel like your skin is burned. So anytime they touch you, you feel like you're reacting, your psychological skin is on fire. So everything, you're so touchy. And I really had bad experiences with that. They were all pretty good doctors. I was happy with them as far as their ability. but their bedside manner with me and with Hannah were not the best. So I definitely found better doctors that I was comfortable with, because that's important. It's important that you find a doctor that you're comfortable with, as well as one that is good with your child, because you're the one that's going to need to deal with them. And I just wasn't ready for a doctor to be that blunt with me, because I did not know what was going to happen with her. So hearing that was definitely a punch in the gut.
Yeah, I asked that question specifically for a listener that I know had, her daughter was just diagnosed with autism, and she's verbal. She's high functioning. And, but there's a stigma still to, autism, where most of the time autism means there's something wrong with you.
It's just atypical, neurologically atypical. And for your listener that has that, I would say your child is going to find, is it a female or female?
Girl.
A girl. She's going to find her own niche of what she is brilliant in. And she just has a different way of her brain working. And that's what I would tell little kids that would come up to me and say, why is Hannah not talking? And I would say her brain just works differently. And they were just curious. They were legitimately curious and weren't being mean about it. They just wanted to know why she wasn't talking, like little kids do. They're so blunt. And I would just literally say, her brain works differently. She was born differently. And just know that your daughter is going to be who she's meant to be. And don't put any limitations on her, and just see where she goes. And I never did with Hannah. Whatever she did, she did. Whatever she couldn't do, she couldn't do. And I didn't expect anything. That was key. Once I learned that she had something wrong, quote unquote wrong, or atypical, I stopped expecting anything. So everything she did was wonderful. I'm like, all right, she did that, beautiful. Okay, she did that, beautiful. Okay, she's not speaking. All right, we'll find other ways for her to communicate, which is what we've done, So tackle one problem at a time. And it's actually harder for a parent with a child that's on the spectrum, that's a higher functioning, because she's gonna have other obstacles that I didn't have, because Hannah was obviously a child with special needs. So it's hard when your child looks typical, but doesn't think in that way. So adults react or respond differently. Like, why is that child acting that way? Well, that's none of your business. Besides the fact that her brain works differently, it's really none of your business why she's having a meltdown right now. So that's a different challenge. It's a different set of challenges that I had. I didn't get any side eye when my daughter acted up, because she looks like something, there is a disability there. But it's a disability which could be a great ability somewhere else. So that's what I would like parents to remember, that every child has their challenges. Yours just has a different set, and they'll navigate around it. And I really feel like we're meant to get the children that we get, and they're meant to come here the way they are, and to deal with the challenges that they have, and to learn from them. So, but it's a tough road at the beginning, especially if you're dealing with schools now. They have to get testing, and you want the services for your child. And that's another whole conversation of how to help parents navigate that whole world with school and an individual education plan, and how to best support and advocate for your child. That's a whole nother story and conversation, because there's a lot to that as well, especially as being a teacher. I've been a teacher for 17 years, so I see both sides of it. I'm parent and teacher, which is part of why I want to work with special needs parents. That's who my seeker is, because I understand it. I'm walking it. So
you've got a really interesting perspective of you're the client, but you're also like you're the parent and you're a teacher. And so you see both sides of educational system, as well as the parenting and the struggles that come from both angles.
And how scary it is to walk into an IEP meeting, seeing a whole room full of people. With my daughter, she's got so much going on. She had PT, OT, speech, school psychologist, teacher. There was a mad social worker. I mean, I would walk in and the whole table would be filled. And it was very overwhelming at the beginning. And I was sometimes cry when I walked in, like, oh shit, I got to deal with this now. I have all these people around this room. And also I would say to parents, I don't know if I should say this, but I'm going to, because it's what I always felt. Throw the scores out the window. It doesn't matter how your child did on a standardized test. You know what I mean? Hannah her numbers were always low because she's nonverbal. So I would say to the child psychologist, don't even give me the numbers because I don't care. I want to hear from the teacher. How's she doing in her goals? I don't care how she did on the standardized test that those tests that they have to give them to find out what level they're at. I didn't care. I didn't want to hear it because Hannah was always low, but it didn't mean that she couldn't do things. So I always felt like they were undervaluing her, but that's probably my own crap that I brought to it, right? My own issues that I'm bringing to it, that a number doesn't matter. Right. But I wanted to know, all right, what goals are you going to have for her? What are you going to work on? And how is she doing towards those goals? That's what's most important to me. Not how, could she verbalize this or that? Could she identify a triangle or a square? You know what I mean?
I know she can't verbalize it. Thanks.
Yeah. Thanks for letting me know that she's at a 6-month level. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. Hearing that you're, 14-year-olds at a 6-month-old level, that's helpful. Thank you. That's why they knew. Beth, I know you don't want to hear it. So let me know if you want me to tell you the numbers, or I can just give you the document. So I'll just take the document. Thank you. Because I didn't want to be bogged down with that. I wanted to hear from the people that really I felt mattered. But they have to do their testing every 3 years. They have to test to make sure they still qualify, So it is what it is.
Is there a book that's been instrumental in your personal development journey?
Gosh.
There's either a lot or I don't read books.
Well, there's so many. And I can't even think of any names. It's like so many different, but what came to mind immediately is the one that led me on the path to spirituality. That's one of the John Edward books. I was a big fan of John Edward and Sylvia Brown. In that it just gave me such comfort. And I think that's what I needed. I just needed to not feel alone. And I knew there were other parents with special needs children, but I didn't feel like they were helping. Like I'd be in these groups with Hannah, like kid, mommy and me groups with other special needs kids. And I just felt like I was missing something. Like these aren't, I didn't feel like I was getting anything out of them. And then I started looking into the spirituality stuff more, and that really helped. I didn't really read a lot of self-help books. It's really, I can say to you, my journey's really been around spirit and energy. And that's what led me to the transformational coaching, was that work with Robin and Jamie and the energy.
And you're the first person that's mentioned anything like that. So I appreciate the perspective and the differences, because there's a lot of self-help and there's a lot of personal development, and then there's spiritual development too. And so to my recollection, you're the first person to mention anything along that line. So I appreciate that, because there's other walks of life and there's other perspectives that
it's whatever you believe in, whatever brings you peace, and that's what brought me peace and a sense of hope, to be honest with you.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Where can our listeners find you?
I am going to be starting my own Facebook page. I'm excited about that because I want to reach out to other moms. So I'm going to be starting that. Anybody can email me at BethEllen1227 at gmail.com. If anybody wants to reach out, I'm more than happy. I am on Facebook as well, but I'm going to be starting a group specifically for special needs parents.
Awesome. And if
they
that
can-
is up and running by the time the episode releases, then I'll add that into the show
Oh,
notes.
perfect. Thank
Yeah.
you, Alicia. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
Well, I appreciate you being here today and giving us a different perspective on a lot of different things, but connecting with your special needs child is a big deal, and or reframing how you think about your special needs child is I know at least important to one of my listeners.
Well, good. That's all. Yeah, if I can reach one person, that's perfection. So thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So there will be another episode of Imperfect Momming coming for you all next week. And until then, keep healing. Bye, guys.
Thank you for tuning in to Imperfect Momming. It's time for us to step up and realize that our power is not in trying to shape our children. Our power lies in shaping ourselves into the people we want our children to model themselves after. Don't just do it for your kids. Do it for yourself. When you become a more self-aware, compassionate, and confident person, you and everyone around you benefit. For more information about me and my work, visit AliciaLyons.com. That's ALYSIALYONS.com. See you next time.